Hello everybody and welcome to part 3 of our simple tutorial series. Today we'll be doing sag angles and we'll be using the portrait frame from exercise 1 as our donor model. So let's just save as, give this a new name. Start off there. I'd like this number 3 and sag angles. Now, once we've done that, we can start looking at our different sag systems. Now, the most basic sag system is the ones provided with the program, of course. Now, unfortunately, most of these ones require you to use a specific profile from that company. We'll just be using the general one. South Africa sag angle. Sometimes they will have pictures, sometimes not. They should be provided with the South African environment. From here we will take any of our purlins and we'll get a view on the part top. Let's see, edit. We are going to put a construction line just in the center of these two rafters, and we'll be putting our vertical sag there. Now, as for the settings, 54 by 30 by 4 angle line is fine. I'm going to change the material to structural steel, and that should be just about it. Now do note that this size of angle line only comes in commercial quality, the CQ that it was, and it does not come in the SU55JR structural steel grade. But most of my clients on average prefer everything being the same, everything being structural steel as they use that list. So I'll be changing my stuff to that. For the first one, we simply need to select two purlins and then draw a line, well, any 2 points directly in between this on our center line. We could also do it the other way around. Do note that this component is directional. Let's just hide that, as the side of our web will change depending on which side we use. Also, here we can see it goes through, and here it does not go up to against. And this again is simply determined by the direction we put it in. So please be careful and make sure that you are putting it in the correct way. Usually it will always be from the inside of the channel to the back of the channel, but it can change based on direction, and it doesn't really matter if you do it wrong. As I said, put one in, check it. If it's incorrect, undo, put it the other way. Easiest way to do it. Next, we will be putting in their connections. Now, the connections are fairly simple and they work on the exact same principle. One is made from top, one is made from bottom, as you can see here, and that's simply an indication of whether, let's change that to parts, whether it goes to the inside, undo, top, or the outside. As you can see here, go all the way up to the top, which means bottom works to the back. Go, and again for the mid connection we'll use a mid sag angle. This is roughly similar to the two-sided. Again, we do need to pay attention on the direction we do it, as doing it the wrong way around will result in an incorrect connection. Undo, back first. Now, it probably would be quicker and easier just to do it from a direct top view. Personally, I prefer doing this in 3D as it quickly shows me my mistake, and I do often get that one wrong. The next one will be either a diagonal sag or an apex sag. For this example, I think I'll be using the diagonal sag, and I'm just going to take my two items and again pick just 2 points on my center line. Now, as you can see currently, it is the wrong way around, but that is not a problem. Let's go find its component. That should be the one, or we can simply put the component on. If it does appear the wrong way around, you could simply swap these two numbers inside the component, and that will swap your component around. Now, like previously, we do have some other problems that we need to sort out, as well as directional is important. Now, the first thing here that is a problem is this angle. To solve that, we need to set our axes to the current plane, and that's basically the same plane as the purlins. Once that's done, we can do this again according to center line, right through, and you'll see this time, because we're using the correct axes and pick order, it will be nice inside. Okay, now from here we would need to swap these two values around. For the inside over here, it simply needs to clear. There is no set SOP. I think about 100 should do it. If we take a close look, no, it's too close there. Let's make this 150. And I've got a fair bit of clearance on either side. I'm going to do the exact same thing at the top. I simply wanted to clear. So let's start off with 2.2 meters. This distance is, of course, from the center to the side. So roughly it'll be half your roof width, well, half the bay width, minus a couple hundred for the cleats on either side. Let's put this at 350, and as you can see, we've got a fair bit of clearance on both sides, and that'll be good enough. Now, the purpose of the sag system is when you've got too large a span between cleats, and especially with this thin material you're using, the whole area of the roof can sag down. In other words, it can bend, and this is simply to prevent that. Diagonals fixes to the fixing point where the cleats are, keeps that in place, and then this one gets kept in place, and that'll get transferred through to all the purlins by the vertical sags. Now the next thing we'd like to do is mirror these over. Unfortunately, mirroring over a component affixed to a component won't work, so we'll need to explode them. I'll start off by closing this view as I no longer need it, and I'm going to close up this component as well. Let's change our parallel view to get us back to the global. and from here we'll do a selection. I'm going to change my selection to only select components by clicking it twice, selecting all that and exploding them. And this will leave us with a bunch of items as if we had done this manually, which is exactly what I want. Let's just redo, get rid of all those extra stuff. From here I'm just gonna change my selection over to assemblies so that I can select the assemblies only. From that I'm gonna say copy special, mirror, and pick 2 points in the center of the building, copy, and that should give us a full set on the other side. Again, when doing stuff like this, just check to make sure that it did copy correctly, as Tekla is fond of messing up at the most unexpected of times. And of course, using mistakes is always fairly common. Now, after that, I'm going to take all my vertical sag angles and I'm going to copy only them over here, where we are going to be using an apex tie, or an apex sag. So let's go over to our view tab, view by 2 points, and select 2 points along the back of this angle line. I don't want to see everything. Properties, I'm going to change this to about 100 in either direction, and I'd like to view it on the plan. Okay. Now from here we do have the small problem of both of these. So what I'm going to do is just take one over here, copy it up, and then one over here and copy it up as well. And this will give us the start of our apex. Let's just get nice and see-through and get rid of our extra bolts. Make sure that whichever one you delete, the one that's left is bolted through both cleats and the lip channel. Now, for the main part, which is this angle in the middle, just going to change to our normal selection. I'm going to remove the one side's items, take that node and just go put it on the other side. And this will give us one type, which is basically just an angle line in the middle. Now, the other thing that would sometimes be required or preferred, depending on the size of the purlins, is if you split the center. So we're going to go to edit, split this part in the middle, split this part in the middle, and get rid of those two extras. And this will leave us with a bit of a cranked member. From here we are going to either just do a poly cut, a hard cut, fit, good, on both. Just do area selection, getting the nice center, cutting them with each other. Then we'll move over and weld them together. Close this. And if we take a look here, we've got a sag angle that joins the center and will keep these two together. Now, this is a bit weaker than a straight item would be, but it really depends on what you are doing. For our remaining two bays, I'm going to do the other common type of sag system, which is Sag Rods. So let's take a purlin and create a view on top. From here, I'm going to again get a nice line in the center, with the only large difference being this time I'm going to copy this line to either side. 50 should be enough, and minus 50 the other side. So the item we'll be doing, the Sag Rod, is mostly done manually unless you're using a specific system for which you can get a component, but I'll just be doing this manually. Sag Rod, and we're going to be using a diameter 16 rod. Either D or rod doesn't really matter, as they are both round bar section sizes. We're going to go to position, change both to middle, and color. I'm going to make this nice bright yellow. Right, the Sag Rod will be entered from the back over there to the back over here. Apart from that, just put another one in. I'm going to have a short rod about 100 long. That is going to be the threaded part. This short rod will of course be in the middle. Let's just shorten up this rod, and I'm going to use the exact same piece over here, and then just shorten up this part. So now currently we've got 3 rod sections, and this one will be 100 either side extra. Open up these 2 extra rods and reduce their diameter. I'm going to make this 15, and this is just so that we can see the difference between our threaded and non-threaded parts. After we've done this, we will now join these into one part using the added material command over here. So attach part, select your main part and then your secondary part, confirm, go to the other side, do the same thing, main part, secondary part, confirm with middle mouse, and then we'll have our rod, and as you can see it's slightly smaller on the ends where it is threaded. Heading back to the top view, next we will need a couple of holes. But I'm going to head over to edit and place a point at any position right here in the middle. Let's turn this around, and that's so that I've got a point in the center. Now, when doing the holes, I would like it to be on that middle point, and whether it faces up or down doesn't really matter as long as that's the centered. Looking at again from the top, I would like it to be the hole only, and I want it to be for a 16. Let's make this see-through and add our 100 crosslinks. For the next step, I'd like to add a couple of nuts. So I'm going to go up to steel, open up my normal profile, close that, don't need it, and for my profile size, I'm going to go to user defined nuts, pick M16 nut. I'll also be changing my material to component, as this is a bought out item, and I'm going to remove the a 7, so it contrasts nicely. And here I'm going to add a 16 long both to the front and to the back over there, and then I'm going to take them and weld them to my rod. Now, I'm not going to put holes in these nuts, nor am I really going to worry too much about any of the other properties. And from there I'll copy them over to this position, and that should be it for this rod. So I'm going to change my selection to the assembly. Put it in my next positions. Now I'm not too worried about the front part that is currently not fitting, and we'll adjust that in just a moment. Okay, let's change this back to our normal, and from here we select everything including the rod, and what we'd like to move is only the nodes. So when doing this step, just do that. Drop this in here. Okay, so when doing this step, you just do an area selection holding down Alt and move it to the length you need it. And that will stretch all my nodes that I require stretching. If you do not select the rod with the rest of the nodes, let's just select the rod without the rest of the nodes. This one, as you can see, doesn't move that width, even though it's supposed to be one part. Okay, so stagger them all the way down, and that'll give you your sag rods. Once you're done with that, let's just redraw, get rid of all the welding symbols, all these extra stuff. Up, get our holes, and copy that over as well. Make sure you get your perpendicular snap before clicking, and really check that they have copied over to avoid any problems. Once this is done, we will need to tie it over to the other side or put the diagonals in, the same as what we did with the angle lines. For this one, I think I'm gonna copy it over to the side. Select everything again, mirror it over, and get the straight one out of the way, as it is the easiest one to do. Before I can do that, I will need to change my axes back to parallel. Just run the command again to copy them over. Okay, now from here I'm going to get a top view, use Control P, and I'll be doing this on my standard 3D view. Take a view, let's see, Control View, create view new, 2 points, and I'm going to make my view using the center of these holes. ensuring that I've got a perpendicular view. This is important as if it's not perpendicular, your angle line, or rod in this case, won't be either. Next, I'm just going to take up the rod, apply it, and from here, see, as the size of the rod is fairly small, not going to be much of a problem. Just take the rod, put it from center to center. Again, I will shorten this by about 50 on either side. That's just so that I can have, could be the wrong direction. Just make that minus. Now I'd like to go back. Good. Once that's done, I'm just going to put a 101 in, make it that a little bit smaller so we've got a clear difference between the two, and then just copy one over to the tip there and copy it over to the tip here. Delete the original, head on over to Edit, Add Material, Attach Part. Select again your main part first, and then your secondary part. Confirm, main part first, secondary part, confirm. Once this is done, take up the 16th nut, apply its settings, and from here I'm just going to do it center. I know for a fact this will be clashing, and I do not mind. Let's just put it up here for now. 16 bolt. After that, I'm going to go to Edit, get a construction line, throw 2 lines in here. To the edge there, and copy this over to the edge here. Now, as with the rest of these, when I make the drawing, let's just go to the properties, shrink this a little bit so it's a clearer view. When I make the drawings, I will of course add a note for a tapered washer, as I would for the regular washers on the other ones. I'm also going to go and weld the nuts to my rod, and then I'm going to take these 2 nuts and just copy them over to the other side. Again, using a line as a guide. Now, if you look at here, you'll see that the bottom over there is the first one that's going to touch, so my copy will be from the bottom of the inside nut to over there. Go. Now, usually on a larger purlin, you might have the 2 over each other instead of side by side, or you might have it start at the top, ending at the bottom, and have this one top to top, top to bottom, and so forth. That really does depend on the size of your purlins and what your client or what the engineer desires. Now, once that's done, we're going to come back here and we're going to do our diagonals. Let's start by going back to our previous view and setting our work plane to the background. Now, for the specific diagonal that we are going to put in here, there are a myriad of different options. Some options include a bracket with a piece of cable and rings on the end, or you could put in a pre-made stuff if you've got access to it. For my purposes, I'm gonna be designing my own, just putting a little 6mm plate in here to tie the two rod ends together. So let's start off by opening up our M16 rod, getting the settings and applying. The next thing I'm going to do is just put it in randomly, from really any position over there, I'm just going to put it right there in the corner. Now, the bracket I can either put in here next to the end cleat, or I can have it extend from the end cleat itself using one of these holes. Since my rods are in the center, the holes will not be aligned with my end cleat hole, so I'm just going to put a new bracket and get a new hole over here. For the bracket itself, I've got a couple of things that I need to look at when doing it. And I'm going to start off by putting down let's say about 70 base. I'm of course going to delete this base once I'm done doing my calculations or figuring out how I want everything to fit up, but for now it will serve its purpose. I'd like it to be about 60 wide, 6 thick plate. As this is a plate, I'm just going to make it class 1. Nice visual difference. That 2P. It's going to be CL for cleat and cleat. Once that's done, I'm going to just move it right. Good. Right seems to work. And I would like a M16. So if you haven't selected it, either go and get it or just change your to 16. I think the rest of the options stay. I would like those to be on. And I'm going to put it in between these two. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because I would like this rod, however it comes in, to definitely clear this whole setup I've got over here. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get a line perpendicular to my current, and yes, current, this is going to change as soon as I figure out roughly how I'd like it done, and I'm going to get it right over there, and this will allow me to get a fairly good position on the bracket. Let's put about 80 should be good, and I'd like at least 30 to the center and another 30 to the side over there. Take this and just flip it all over and do the same for this one over here. From here I'd like to put that right here in the center, and I'm going to then stretch it through by 50. Now, as you can see, this leaves me quite a bit of space, so I'm going to select these 3 parts, use Alt and do an area selection, and move this down about halfway. That leaves me, let's take a measurement, always the safest way, about 12 millimeters. And do note that this can be lengthened or shortened as you twist it in and out. For this one specifically, I think that's a little bit close, so I'm going to say at about that 20 is good. That leaves us a fair bit of clearance for whatever might happen here and for adjusting this length a bit longer. Next, I'm going to do the exact same thing, but I'm going to do it up here. Firstly, I'd like just a plate sitting inside, I want it to come out about 35, should be about there. Then I'd like a plate roughly along this, and we said we would like it to be 60, so roughly 60 along that. Plump it in there somewhere, and another 60. Let's just make this lines and get it perpendicular about 60. Now this definitely clears our rod, and do make sure you use the side of the rod, otherwise you probably have to redo the whole thing. And there, 50. So that gives us a very good positioning on our rod. Now, once I've got this positioning, I'm going to go ahead and delete these plates. Before I delete this plate over here, I'm just going to take a point, any position, and mark where I wanted my hole to be. Might seem a little bit arbitrary redoing the whole process, but that helps me for a nice clean finish. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to draw a line along this, put it in there, copy it, both 50 and 100. So the 100 will just be the mark where I'm going to split this, and the 50 is the mark for the plate. Take these lines, copy them down to this side. Then from here, I'm going to take this line, copy it along one of these perpendicular lines by 30. As we said, we'd like the plate to be 60 wide. Take that up again by 30 again, giving us this little meshed grid. Let's just redraw and get rid of that measurement. Next thing I'd like to do is, well, put it in. I'm going to take this whole, take this whole marker and just move it right up to that corner, and then I'm going to take it and copy it by 70, as well as 35. If you're paying attention, you'll know that I changed the position again, and that is not a problem, since the only real constraint we have is our clearance over here. That's a little bit big. Let's area select those two nodes with Alt and just move them down over there. And that gives us our bracket. From here, I'm going to take a bolt. I was thinking about the other nuts. And put in our bolt over there. Next, I'm going to go over to Edit, and I'm going to split my rod, shrink this down to 15, modify that, and just combine the materials. Attach part. Once I've done that, I can go get my M16 nut properties. And of course I can just re-enter the nut properties, but I find it a lot more convenient to just reuse properties, and that also saves me the accidental mistakes of doing two things differently. Here we can just weld these two, and that should be it for this connection over here. Get rid of these lines, but I'm going to leave these lines since I'm going to be using them on the other side. Next, I'd like to take both the rod, the nuts, and the plate cleat, and mirror them over the other side of the building. Let's go over there. Then I'm going to take just the cleat and the cleat over on this side, and I'm going to get a nice center point. So let's head on over to edit, points on a line, as this will be on the back, just any point on the back, and as this is inside, any point really inside. And then we're going to copy this over to that. I made my mistake and deselected right at the end. Copy them over. Now the reason for this is that I would like copy this to go over here, delete, and this one copy to go over here. If I move them, or if you choose to move them, do know that your bolt won't go left with unless you select it. These three lines over here, go over to edit, points on a line, and get a center point. And that's just so we can do another mirror over the center. The reason for this is that we will need to modify this cleat. As you can see, although our lines are roughly the same as on the other side, our cleat is slightly shorter in this area over here. Same with this side, just do an area selection of that points all the way down Alt and move them in slightly. Next, I'm going to take these plate again and I'm going to apply it, select both plates and redraw it, polybeam, so that I've got one plate that goes through the entire area. Okay, that was on the other side. Let's do this way around. Let's just finish it off. Undo. Around, got a plate, and now we simply press delete without pressing anything else, and we'll get rid of that. Then we can take these two nuts, and we could move them out, or we could just leave them as is. They are going to cause a clash. Be aware, if you are going to do a clash test, you will need to account for these nuts that clash, but personally I prefer to just leave them as is, even though they clash, since I would like all of my rods to be exactly the same, instead of having 5 of these and one of this, because they're different. I'd rather just leave them, have them all be the same, much less drawings to work with. Okay, I will need to change the bolts though to make up for the plate. And that's one of the other reasons why you want a continuous plate, so you can just use one group of bolts. I'd also need to put a bolt in right at the center over there, bolt it to the plate and not the rod, turn that off, so it should only be a hole. Same for the side. this one over here. And this one over here. Now, these bottom ones I definitely should have done beforehand and not after. And doing that afterwards is my own failure. Failing to think forward and far enough. Just get those nuts in. And using our current mirror, we just copy them over. Before I'm molding them, I'm going to split up my item. Open up these two, take them down to 15 to show my difference for my threaded area. Confirm and confirm. Now I can quickly go and weld them. Each one of them goes to the rods. And that should do it. Now let's quickly clean this up, get rid of anything unnecessary. I'm also gonna deselect and then select only the rods, only the points, so I can delete those, get back to my complete selection. Now before I continue on, I'm going to go over to my assembly selection and just check that everything is selected properly. Okay, seems all my weld assemblies are good. Now I'm going to change my selection back to parts. I'd like to select all that. I'm not too worried about the bolts, but I do need to select these holes since they're not part of any of the parts we're currently selecting. So I can go out, hold down shift, do an area selection, and just make sure I've got all this stuff. Excellent. Now let's head on back to our 3D view. Come over to views, set our line to the background, and do a mirror. Get this over to the other side. Copy it over, and just check that everything did copy over. There are no clashing elements to speak of. Great. Now once this is done, I'm going to quickly go to the drawings and just show you one of each. We are going to head over to drawings and reports, form numbering and number modified objects. After everything has been assigned numbers, we are going to run the auto drawing command. Bring that up, and I'm going to use a landscape only. And I'm going to create from everything. It'll throw up a window while creating. Once that's done, do note your program might freeze up completely as Tekla's trying to ping the main server, in which case you'll just want to disconnect your internet connection so that it skips that process and allows you to continue on. Now, once you've created your drawings, go ahead and select, I think one of these should do. I'd like the angled one as well, one of the diagonals, one of the rods, it really doesn't matter which one, and this bracket. Okay, that should be good. Then I'm going to save by parts just to get the specific parts. I'm just going to select the assembly drawings, leave the members alone for now, and just go to selected. So let's go through these one by one. The first would be this plate cleat that we're using for the rods. Now, as you can see, Tekla doesn't really make a very nice drawing of it. So what we will be doing is coming up here to our drop down menu, and we'll go find a plate unfolded. I think an A2 should work fine, and since this is assembly drawing, my drawings are going to be A2 and printed as A3. That's just my own preference. Close this up, and there we've got our bracket. Now, once we've got this, and we've got the different angles that it needs to be bended at, we'll also need to create a new view, section view, to show what's going on here. Now, for these settings, I'm just going to load up any of the section views. Brief sections should be fine. Open up that. There we go. And I think I'm going to change the scale to 2.5 to match our unfolded view over here. Now, the next thing you can do is change the rotation or the angle of it. And I believe I would like this area to be straight instead of that area over there. So what I am going to do now is firstly draw a line on this straight line. Then I'm going to take that line and I'm going to move it to any position on this angle. And this is just so that I can go to my dimension and add an angular dimension. Do note that this is not the exact 63, and we'll need to get it to be multiple members and a lot more accurate. Once that's done, we can select our gray outline, go to rotate, and just type it in here. I do believe I want to bring it back, so a minus should suffice. Once that's done, you can get rid of this new line with its dimension. Now that we've got it in the appropriate rotation or angle, I'm going to add some dimensions just to make it easier for whoever needs to do the bending. And let's see, angled one in, they should do it. It's fairly small, I don't want it to combine, so I'm going to turn my combination off. And I'm going to do the same for bottom over here. If you do accidentally select the wrong spot, you can simply remove dimension. Once that's done, we go to add. So even though you select the wrong position, that does not necessarily mean that you have to start over. You can add and remove later on. I believe that should work fine. We'll save this and go on to the next one. Especially on larger things, adding and removing is a lot faster when you've got 15 or 20 points in your dimension than redoing it. This one seems to be fine. I'm going to add more dimensions to the other side. I'm going to move this down so it's no longer in there. That should do it. This one, again, I don't like it in this current view, although technically it is still correct, still fine. I prefer it to have it as in a model being straight, so I'll just go to the model, get a measurement of the angle and rotate it. Same for these, actually quite nice as is, and because they've got a singular hole, it does make for a swivel connection, meaning that they can slightly loosen this nut and then they can turn this angle line to be any position they needed. Same for the other side. Once this is installed, they'll just tighten these two into their correct position. Now, when it comes to the rods, let's just move this down a little bit. We do not need that. Look at that, or that. In fact, we don't need any more than just the one view. I'm also going to remove the part marks, as I don't really require those either. The dimensioning required on the rods are just this one specifically, and the reason for this is we only want to mention that this part is threaded. There we go, modify, and the same for the other side. You simply want to do nice and aligned, threaded. Now we don't want the center to be also say threaded, but we can put the center in as long as we do it separately and keep it from having any nuts. Drag this nicely in line, nicely in line. Right. As for these two nuts, we do not need to put a dimension on them, as they will be moved back and forth however necessary once the part gets installed. Let's go to drawing. What we do want to do though is we would like to put in a note. Text. I'd like this to have a line with a bit of an arrow, and I'm going to change the text to read to M16 nuts. Washers not really needed. Say and required. Required. You can move this down one and that over. Two nuts required with washers, and they will just be put on, supplied on site, and then they can remove them and re-add them upon installation. Wrong note, text with leader, and that's about it. Right, that'll be just about everything for this video. Hope you have a good day and hope you learned something.